Okay, Mom, some man's action here. Thank you so much. You guys.
No, I got the wall is all wiped out. I'm a gentleman, I'm a sister, by the way. Oh, you are? I'm well. Yeah, pleasure to meet you. The light is great. Yeah, he put those up. I turned them on. So, yeah.
See any smoke on those? Yeah. I know, John,
That's something we can get excited about.
Now, is that's the camp house where it's headed toward? It's the Jenkins Creek. That's the far first west.
Then you have the cabin.
What?
The one out.
Yes.
That one is basically most red and paint. It's all just going up.
Oh, yeah. That's 9-4 September. Been a while.
And 2 years ago, Colorado State Fair, we had that nasty storm.
Yeah.
Did a big blowdown. So there's clear-cut trees that are just green. Like probably lots of
Yeah. Is that 1,000 years ago? 15 maybe ago.
Yeah.
Yes, sounds right.
And she was. Yeah, I know. This was his retirement party yesterday. Yeah, we did that. I looked at the So we filmed all those, and I just they've got their own site, and they've got
Order. I'll just kick it off. Amy Karen is our public health director. She's right there in purple. And then you'll be next, and just do your thing. And then Sue Abder-Holden from National Alliance on Mental Illness, Minnesota chapter is here. And then our commissioner. And then when she's done, then we'll just, before we take questions, we'll just have you kind of, I don't know if you stand in front of this or whatever, you know what I mean? So that people can see it. It's how easy it is to take it out, put it in.
Just try. I'll just keep it pointed to the ground,
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm not
Yeah. You don't want to.
lasering anybody.
Yes, this is an important moment for you.
Right. Right. I don't need to mess it up before we get there.
How are you? Glad you could be here.
I only have work numbers, but I can send it from my personal.
Hi, how are you? Good. Sorry about that.
Here, I'm going to do one quick thing here.
Sorry about the what?
No. Well, we were going to have a malt box, and that didn't quite work out. So
Oh, that's all right.
you can make that work. I'll do a little test if you like. So these guys are ready. Oh, we got time.
What time is it? Oh, we got 5.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes. Just let me know when you want to do a test.
Maybe weekends and watch it. Yeah. On top of him calling me out all the time, you know. When I ran water patrol, I
Yep. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. If I had lunch, what would I have for lunch? Something tasty. So, are you guys all okay if we close the door once we start? Okay, I just think you've got kids coming through and other sound interruptions that may make a problem. So, when we're ready, John, this isn't going to move, so do your best. And let me warn.
So, County Attorney Choi is serving.
Just so you know, you're ready when you get up. So John's going to start with this. Just have it with you behind your hand, whatever.
Okay.
And then when it's your time, boom, get ready.
I never know what to do that when you're standing up there, like with your papers that look so junky.
They're all going to catch it from here up.
I
It won't
hope
matter.
so.
It won't matter. I mean, who knows? Who knows? So,
It's always awkward. I think of that every
I know.
time. Like,
Yeah,
what do I do with
all
this?
speech class. You're like, ooh,
I
yeah.
know, right?
So you're going to reference Dr. Kottke, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll get a picture later on with some of the moms of Mad Action and stuff like
Okay.
that when the time comes. So.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Hey, Amy, I think we're coming up. So the is, I'm gonna turn it over to you, so just
Oh, you
stand
are
next to me.
turning it
Yeah,
over to me,
yeah. So
okay.
this is the order.
I'll state
So
the obvious.
Jeremy, come on. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And are you introducing everybody?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll do that MC
Thank
role
you.
too. Sue, come on closer too. We can all. So this is
Nice to meet you.
and Sue, this is the order. So you'll be after Commander
Okay.
Mullen.
All right. We got Commissioner.
Yep, and we'll get Tara up here, and
Everyone good with light and sound?
I know you're thinking like I don't want to be close, but it looks weird when we're not close.
I'm gonna stand
Oh, when we're spread out.
Yeah. Tara, why don't you come on this side so we can balance it out? All right. Are we ready? Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today as a part of some really important messages that we want to get out to our community. You're going to hear today from Amy Karen, our Public Health Director, Commander Jeremy Boland from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, Sue Abder-Holden from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Minnesota chapter, longtime Executive Director, and then our Ramsey County Commissioner who represents this area in Shoreview, Tara Jebin Singh. On a regular basis, we did it last year, sometimes it's every other year, but we feel like it's really important to speak out about how we can prevent the tragedies that occur around gun violence in our community, and especially with school getting out and young kids being at home, maybe sometimes unsupervised. We felt it was really important to get out the message and to remind people that today and every day in our community, we have free available gun locks at many, many community sites across Ramsey County, many of the libraries across Ramsey County, because it is through locking those guns up that we can prevent so many bad things from happening. I have, oftentimes people say that I have a very tough job because we deal with the tragedy. It's too late. When a case comes to me and a young child has shot their sibling, or there's a person in crisis and we didn't do anything to prevent their access to a firearm, and then they end up maybe committing suicide. Those are the tragic things that happen in our community. And today is really about marshaling our resources and our positions to make sure that the public understands this really important message, that all of those bad things around gun violence, they're preventable. They really are. And what it requires is for the people in our community to recognize that they can be a part of that. And we have some really special people here today who are really leading the way and can talk a little bit more about the work that we're trying to do to prevent these tragedies. So our first speaker today is our Director of Public Health in St. Paul and Ramsey County, Amy Karen, and I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. The Minnesota Department of Health reported preliminary data last week showing the suicide rate in Minnesota remained the same in 2024 compared to 2023. With 813 suicides among residents in 2024, this marks 2 years of suicides below the state high of 860 deaths in 2022. While these preliminary numbers show the suicides rates per 100,000 residents holding steady, the overall upward trend over the last 20 years is concerning. As we consider the impact death by suicide has on families and communities, it's important for everyone to know that suicides are preventable, help is available, and recovery is possible. The Minnesota Department of Health's data show, as has been the case for many years, that firearm injuries were the leading cause, 51%, of suicide deaths in 2024. National statistics also show that half of all youth suicides and 84% of youth homicides involve firearms. In 2020, the firearm injury became the leading cause of death for American children and adolescents. These grim statistics are why gun locks and safely secured firearms are an important part of the work to prevent suicides, accidental deaths and injuries, and gun violence. St. Paul Ramsey County Public Health has been involved with this gun lock project from the start because preventing illness, injury, and premature death are core public health concerns. We do this through health education, the services we provide to tens of thousands of people every year, and partnerships like this. One of our partners in reducing firearm deaths and injury that I'd like to recognize today is Dr. Thomas Kotke, a board member of Protect Minnesota and a member of the Minnesota Medical Association. As a physician, Dr. Kotke has seen firsthand the devastation that firearm injuries inflict on children and their families. Thank you, Dr. Kotke, for your work and that of other physicians to draw attention to this issue and calling on all parents and caregivers to secure firearms in their homes. The public health nurses in our home visiting program talk to families about making their homes safe for potential hazards, such as poisons, electrical outlets, and guns. Our nurses discuss the importance of keeping guns locked and secured, particularly if there are older children in the home. They ask them to keep the ammunition separate from the gun and talk about how to safely transport firearms in vehicles. The health and safety of children and families is a starting point and foundation of community health. A gun lock can be the difference between life and death. If a child accidentally gets a hold of a gun, or if an unsecured firearm is easily accessible to a teen experiencing a mental health crisis. Access to crisis mental health services is another key to preventing suicide. Ramsey County's Crisis and Mental Health Services provides connections to services and resources to put individuals on a path to healing. Help is available in a crisis to get an assessment or to access ongoing mental health or chemical health services. The county's services include our mental health urgent care, recently expanded now to serve our youth and teens as well as adults. Unintentional shootings occur most frequently at times when children are likely to be home, over the weekend and in the summer. Nearly one child gains access to a loaded firearm and unintentionally shoots themselves or someone else every day in America. An average of 350 children a year. More than 7 in 10 unintentional child shootings occur in and around homes. St. Paul Ramsey County Public Health welcomes the continuation of this long-standing collaboration with our partners to make gun locks free and easily accessible. Our public health center at 555 Cedar in downtown St. Paul is one of the places where people can pick up a free gun lock. We call on the community to make use of these resources and know that suicide can be prevented, help is available, and recovery is possible.
Thanks, Amy. The next speaker will be Commander Jeremy Bullen.
Good afternoon. I am Commander Jeremy Bullen from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. On behalf of the Sheriff's Office, I'd like to thank Ramsey County Attorney John Choi and his staff, St. Paul and Ramsey County Public Health, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners and their partnership in educating and promoting proper safety and storage of firearms. Through these partnerships, we are hopeful to save lives and educate those on proper gun safety and storage. The Ramsey County Attorney's Office website, under Community Initiatives and then Gun Safety Initiatives, has some how-to videos on proper gun lock use and storage. For example, we have a handgun with a proper cable lock applied to it that we'll demonstrate after the press conference today, as well as a semi-automatic rifle and a shotgun, as a reference for those who have never handled one before. You can also contact the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office Crime Prevention Unit for a one-on-one training at crimeprevention@ramseycounty.us.
Thanks, Commander. Our next speaker is Sue Abderholden, the Executive Director for NAMI.
Great, thank you. For my nearly 24 years at NAMI, Minnesota, I have witnessed increased discussions and awareness around suicide. It is no longer a forbidden topic, and I'm pleased that we are talking about it today. Since 1999, the suicide rate in Minnesota has increased until now. Finally, the number of people dying by suicide in 2024 did not increase, but we still lost one too many people. Of the 813 people who took their own life last year, 51% died using a firearm, and that percentage grew from the previous year. That is why it is so important that everyone pledges to make it difficult to access lethal means by locking bullets in a place separate from the gun, using a gun lock, and hiding the keys. Suicide is often impulsive, so if we can delay access for even a few minutes, we can save a person's life. One study found that nearly half of the people who attempted suicide, the time between when they decided to take their own life and the attempt was 10 minutes or less. In those few minutes, someone might text or call or even just show up, or the person might have second thoughts and hang on to hope. Suicide greatly impacts the family. It is a very difficult loss, but it also impacts our entire community. So as a community, we must work to prevent suicides. We must work together to support and care for each other, especially for people who are struggling with their mental health or are feeling despair. Everyone should learn the warning signs of suicide, take a QPR, question, persuade, and refer class, and how to reach out when we are worried about someone. We must ensure access to help and also to hope. Suicide can be prevented. The effort of the Ramsey County Attorney's Office is critical to prevent suicides. If you own a gun, please use a gun lock. Please use safe storage practices. These resources are available for free. Also, we want people to know about the extreme risk protection orders, which are temporary court orders that remove guns from people who are suicidal or who may hurt others. They are often referred to as red flag laws. If you are worried about someone who owns a gun, you can learn more on the Ramsey County Attorney's website. Extreme risk protect orders can really protect household members from self-harm or harm to others, and they can also provide critical interventions. And finally, I want to make sure that people know about the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 988, 3 digits that are easy to remember. And to all of you here in the media, you're reporting on suicide, and so it is responsible to make sure that you have 988 in your story. And you can call or text 988. Put 988 into your phone. Put it onto your refrigerator. Put it onto your gun safe. Make sure that everyone in your family and circle of friends knows about 988. Anyone can reach out for help for themselves or for someone else by calling or texting 988 24/7, and a trained counselor will be there to help. We're also lucky that in Minnesota we have mobile mental health crisis teams covering all 87 counties. These are tools that we can use to prevent suicide. Please use them. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. And next, and last but not least, Commissioner Tara Jevin-Singh.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here to address this urgent public health and safety issue that touches lives in ways that we often don't see coming. I'm honored to be here on behalf of the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners, and I want to acknowledge the incredible work done by our partners in libraries, law enforcement, mental health, public health, and members of the greater community, all coming together to address this issue of gun safety. As a board, we are committed to protecting the health and well-being of every person in our community. This includes taking proactive steps to prevent the loss of life from firearms, including death by suicide, which remains a leading cause of death in Minnesota and across the nation. Research shows that the first few minutes of an emotional or mental health crisis can determine the outcome. When someone is in a suicidal state, access to a firearm can tragically make the difference between life and death. Unlike other means, death by firearm is often immediate. For individuals struggling with suicidal ideation, creating distance and time between them and a weapon is critical. That's why we're here today. We're talking about something simple yet powerful, gun locks. Gun locks are not just a tool for gun safety, they are a life-saving step that provides precious time that can make all the difference. Those moments can give a caregiver time to check on the children in the back room, or an individual in crisis time to reach out for help or rethink their options. Like many in this room, I have lived experience that drives this work. When I was 13, a classmate of mine died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His family and mine were very close, and yet I still do not know if this tragedy was intentional or accidental. this was 40 years ago in a rural community where guns were plentiful, accessible, and nobody talked about mental health. Some of the lessons I learned as a child from that event were that guns are lethal, your life can change in an instant, and it can happen to any family. In college, I knew a young man who was asked to leave school because he was struggling. His parents came to pick him up, and all of his friends, including me, hoped that he would get the help that he needed. Unfortunately, moments after returning home, he accessed a family gun and died by suicide. Again, guns are lethal. Your life can change in an instant, and it can happen to any family. These lessons have stuck with me. When my children were young, we would go to other homes for play dates, and I would stop at the door and ask the other parent, no judgment, but do you have any guns in the house, and are they secure? And I would say this because I knew kids are curious. They get into things. They want to impress their friends. And guns are legal, and things happen really fast, and it can happen to anyone. These were awkward conversations, but they were critical, and I hope they made all of our children a little safer. Through the years, I have had to have several more difficult conversations with loved ones living with severe mental illness about removing guns from the home. Leveraging all of my care for them to buy some hope that by creating distance and time between them and a weapon would be enough to get them through the dark moments. I share these stories to demonstrate that while each of us is vulnerable, we also can make choices that can make our families safer. Like car seats and seat belts, gun locks are a safety step I hope you will adopt. That's why I am proud to say that Ramsey County is offering free gun locks, no questions asked, at locations across our community, including right here at the Shoreview Library. These simple, effective tools can reduce the risk of tragic outcomes. If you or someone you know owns a firearm, please pick up a lock today. It's quick, it's easy, and it can save a life. Talk about gun safety. Normalize conversations around mental health. Share this information. The more people we can reach, the more lives we can protect. Together, we have the power to make a difference. There's hope. Creating a distance in time between individual and a firearm can save a life. A few seconds to lock a firearm could mean decades more life for children at play or someone in crisis. Your actions can be the difference between tragedy and hope. Together, through simple actions like securing a firearm with a lock, we can help save lives across Ramsey County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so it's these, we are distributing cable locks here in Ramsey County, and they look just like this. And thank you so much to the volunteers from Moms Demand Action who helped put together these really nice packets available. And Commander Bolin is going to now, I think before we take questions and answers, just demonstrate how simple it is to remove and put on a cable lock. It's so simple and very inexpensive, and obviously they're free here in Ramsey County.
So the first thing you're going to do is you are always going to act as if the gun is loaded, point it in a safe direction.
I'll just get out front of the podium too, so they can, yeah.
So typically a firearm, we're just going to make sure that it's cleared, is going to be stored somewhat like this without a gun lock on it. So you will pull the slide back, lock the slide back, put the cable lock through the ejection port and down into the slide hole, or the magazine holder handle. And then the lock simply goes through that, is secured, it's locked. Store the lock maybe in a safe somewhere not with the gun. It defeats the purpose if you do that. And then, as I said earlier, on the county attorney's website, they have how-to videos for handguns, semi-automatic rifles, and shotguns. And then if you need more details, we'll be happy to come out or have a one-on-one training for you through the sheriff's office.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. And again, all the locations are available on the website, but we've expanded those locations, and we'll continue to do that, and we're going to come up with even more strategies to continue to distribute free gun locks to the public. So with that, any one of us here are free to answer any questions that the media might have.
County Attorney Troy, Hennepin County rolled out a program like this similar. It's a first-time program there. You guys have been doing this for a long time in Ramsey County. How long have you been doing it? And do you have any idea of how many gun locks have been distributed through the free programming in Ramsey County?
Dennis, do you have that? We started back in 2016. Was when we started doing this, and at that time, very different. Matt Bostrom was the sheriff, I believe, and a different public health director as well, and different commissioners as well. So I'm still standing.
8 to 10,000?
Yeah, 8 to 10,000.
And then one quick follow-up.
Yeah.
How many locations in Ramsey County can you get these at? And you mentioned libraries, police departments?
In the
Other-
public health department, I think total of how many?
About 20 at this point.
Yeah, 20. And I think about a year or two ago, it was probably only about 13. So, and we'll continue to try to expand them. And part of this too is about no questions asked. You just come in and ask for a gun lock. No one's going to ask any questions, and it'll be available to you.
Is there any statistics available statewide or nationally on the percentage of gun owners who are locking their guns? I mean, I guess I've never seen it. I mean, does anybody have a best guess estimate of how many folks are locking up their weapons?
I don't have a percentage on that about how many people actually do lock their guns, but I can tell you this. Because we get a lot of these cases, especially if they involve negligent storage or child endangerment. And in those typical situations, what has happened is somebody in the household got access to a gun, and it's always unlocked. It's the ammunition. There's ammunition actually in the gun. And so those are the tragedies that I know that can be avoided. And we also know, hearing from advocates and people that are working on mental health and suicide, that again, that we know that if we can have that space and distance and interrupt that impulsive moment around suicide, that can also make a difference. I don't know, Sue, if you have any statistics about any of that, but.
I don't, but I can give you a great
Yeah,
example
yeah.
from the VA. The VA used to have a program called Freeze the Keys. And so it was a little metal container, and you were supposed to put your gun lock, your cabinet keys in there, fill it with water, and put it in the freezer. Now, if you were going to go hunting the next day, you can take it out, and it'll be melt, and you can use them in the morning. If you were feeling suicidal, it's going to take a little while, right? You can't put it in the microwave because it's metal. It's going to take a while to actually melt the ice. And so, again, we just know from the research that if you can delay even a few minutes, people can change their mind. And so it's really important that we lock those guns up. You don't have the key easily available to people as well. In other kinds of storage, we actually recommend that you use a key and not a number lock, because every child knows what number you're going to put on that number lock, your birthday, the street address, or something like that. And so using keys is actually more effective.
I can't talk to you. Okay, one more quick one. What do you say to somebody who's watching this right now and maybe seeing the demonstration that you're doing? Say, yeah, that looks great, but what if I need my gun? And I'm not doing that because I need to have access to my weapon in case somebody charges into my bedroom at night.
I think Commander Boland could actually, could take that gun lock out immediately if he needed to. And
Well,
I know,
you can't.
I think he could do it pretty quickly in a matter of like a second.
Well, but I mean, plenty of people are going to watch this and say,
Yeah.
that it's too cumbersome, and that second or that immediacy, even that's really, nothing's immediate, could be the difference between being able to use your gun and not use it.
I would just say that look at the data and the research that's out there. I mean, a gun in a home, if it's not secured, there's a higher chance it's going to be used against someone you love than somebody bursting into your house late at night. And I just think taking that responsible measure, we can prevent some of these tragedies that are occurring. And we talked about this, Amy cited every day in America. Because there's an unsecured gun in somebody's home or in a car or whatever, a child ends up shooting themselves or another child. That happens every day in America. In fact, there's a case that just recently occurred in St. Anthony Village, which is a part of Ramsey County, and it happens every year. And so I think that if we can get our community to embrace this idea that just taking these measures could save lives, and it's worth it, that we can save lives, but we need the community's help.
There's a law in Minnesota for safe storage of firearms.
Absolutely, and that's why those cases.
What does it say exactly?
Well, there's two avenues. I mean, there's negligent storage, right? And so the standard there is more of a negligent standard, right? And if somebody gets access, so that could be used. But the ones that are the most heart-wrenching are the ones where we charge the parent for child endangerment because somebody got shot. And again, this happens very routinely in Ramsey County.
But as far as the gun itself, have a gun law now in Minnesota?
The law would require that you would take those steps, yes. And then you can also lead to further liability if that gun is used in the context of a homicide.
So state law now says you have to have a gun.
Yeah.
Like every gun.
Well, there's a negligent storage law that says that you have to take protective measures to make sure that.
Can any of the legislators do anything to expand that law?
Well, I think anytime we have that conversation at the legislature, sadly, it becomes very controversial and difficult to pass. But I think the last legislature, not this current one, but the one that happened last year, a number of important things did happen. The extreme risk protection order legislation passed. We also got background checks, and so some good things have happened. But this year, I don't think anything happened around anything to do with reasonable types of regulation around just safety around guns.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you all for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for, we appreciate you being here.
Can you guys? Yeah, so you want to do a quick trip?
Yeah, good picture.
I'm photogenic.
Do we want this in it, or do we want to just move it?
No, just roll it out, yeah, I think that's good, yeah.